This is Fred Ricciani of TSC News here to recap UFC 218, Holloway versus Aldo 2, the pay-per-view results. This took place December 2nd, 2017. Technically, December 3rd now, 2017. Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, Michigan, aired live on pay-per-view. We, of course, had the prelims on Fight Pass and FS1. And holy doodle squat, did we see the crowning of a couple new kings? Well, one guy who cements his status currently as king, and one guy who could potentially be a king in his respective division by next year. Good God Almighty. If you're somebody that bet on Max Holloway, if you're somebody that bet on Francis Ngannou, my goodness gracious, you won a whole lot of money tonight. You are a smart man or woman. And boy, oh boy, let's get to the main event first. Let's not waste any time. We had a 5-round fight with Holloway and Aldo. Aldo, the two-time champion, also the former WEC featherweight champion. Greatest featherweight of all time. I don't hear any stupid McGregor fans like, well, he got knocked out in 13 seconds, blah, blah. It's MMA, dudes. It's MMA. Stuff happens. Weird stuff happens. Crazy stuff happens. And in this fight right here, once again, like the last Holloway-Aldo fight, this went to round number 3. And once again, it was Jose Aldo falling to Max Holloway via TKO. He looked all right in round number 2, starting to throw those trademark Jose Aldo leg kicks. He has a heart of a warrior. He is a warrior. He took a lot of shots, was bloodied, tried to go for the takedown, do something from the bottom. Herb Dean gave him every chance to defend himself, every chance to do his damn thing. But at the end of the night, man, it was just, well, it was Max Holloway's night. What can you say? It was Max Holloway's night. And yeah, he has definitely cemented himself as the current, reigning, defending, undisputed, pound-for-pound featherweight king. And who's to say down the road, this guy's only 26 years old. Well, he's about to turn 26. So he's 25 years old, has already beaten Jose Aldo twice. He's won like 14 straight fights. He's like third all-time in featherweight wins in WC and UFC history. Just unbelievable. So who's to say in a couple years, he won't say, you know what? Hey, I'll go to lightweight and I'll kick ass there. As for Jose Aldo, based on what I saw in terms of footage and pictures from yesterday, dude had another hard weight cut. Obviously, he's older. I mean, he had 10 freaking years on top. Just an unbelievable run that has come to a violent end. That doesn't mean that he's going to be irrelevant. That doesn't mean he can't still do well and headline some UFC shows here and there. But I think the next step for him is finally going up to 155 pounds. I think it's long overdue. This guy has been killing himself to make weight for years. How I remember back when I first covered his UFC debut against Mark Hominick in Toronto, and he just looked exhausted, just drained and unhappy, and he ended up having a great performance, but at the end of the fight, if you remember that Hominick fight, he was starting to wear down. He almost got finished. He was getting tired. And you saw that here tonight. He got pretty tired. And that's kind of been the MO with Aldo over the years. It's just he's a great fighter, one of the all-time greats, but the longer the fight goes, he does tend to wear down. And, you can only cut weight for so long before, your kidneys start saying, hey, F off, man, and before it really, really starts affecting you. So, I mean, hell, the tough main event, one of the women dropped out because of a bad weight cut. So, for the sake of Jose Aldo's health, I hope he goes up to 155. And hopefully he'll have some success. Now, if he struggles at 155, then I think we could say, yeah, he's done fighting at a high level. But for now, I'm not going to write him off. He lasted 3 rounds of Max Holloway. He did give him a fight, but Holloway was in control the whole time. Holloway was calm. He was having fun out there. Man, UFC needs to do a better job marketing these guys. I don't know how they can do it. I do work in marketing. You could advertise these guys a little bit better. You could get some better gear than the Reebok crap you get at Kohl's or whatnot. I mean, you could put them on the video game cover. I don't know. There's a lot of ways they can promote these guys. I don't think there's one right way. And maybe even if with them promoting him and putting on talk shows and stuff, it's still going to be hard because of the fact that you got so many freaking UFC events. You had a UFC event last week. I think we have one next week. I mean, there's so many damn events coming up and that have been going on in the UFC right now. And over the last few years, yeah, Swanson Ortega next week. Jesus Christmas, just So much to keep up with. So maybe with the current model, it's just almost impossible to make anybody become bigger than a brand outside of a couple people like Conor and Ronda, who at the moment are not fighting. But we'll see. We'll see. I do think they could do a better job of marketing him. He's a super likable guy, flamboyant guy. He said after the fight, all these fighters are cupcakes. I love cupcakes. Bring on the next flavor. It's good stuff, man. I like Max Holloway. So he got the win officially at round number 3, 451. We had Francis Ngannou. Jesus Christmas. This guy is a stud. He might be the baddest man on the planet right now. This dude went 1-1, or was 1-1 on December 14, 2013. He lost to some dude named Zoumana Cisse via unanimous decision back in Paris, France. And since then, he has been undefeated. He's won 6 straight fights by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 straight fights he has won via finish in the UFC. I believe the only other fighters to kick off their UFC career with 6 straight finishes like that are Ronda Rousey, Anderson Silva, and Rich Franklin. And there's a common theme with all these fighters too. They all eventually became champions and some of the best who ever did it. So sky's the limit for Francis Ngannou. He's most likely going to be facing Stipe Miocic next, who hasn't fought in a while. And he cut a nice promo talking about how he wants his title shot, thanked his fans, thanked the teams, talking about moving from Paris to Vegas. That was a kind of a tough move for him, but he's made the most out of it, and it's worked out, obviously. And he called out all the awful people who are engaging in the slave trade in Libya, said F slavery, F racism, it's not right. And right from there, Francis Ngannou became my new favorite fighter. We had Henry Cejudo and Sergio Pettis. Kind of a boring fight. Cejudo, the Olympic wrestler, controlled him on the ground and got the win via unanimous decision. 30-27 across the board. And then we had maybe the fight of the year. Eddie frickin' Alvarez versus Justin Gaethje, the former WSOF lightweight champion. A guy who's ranked number 5 with only 1 UFC fight under his belt. 18-0 is now 18-1. Eddie Alvarez won this fight via TKO. Huge knee in round number 3 to send him to the ground. Pretty much knocked him out cold. Tagged him with a couple punches because Herb Dean was a little hesitant to stop it. But Eddie Alvarez won this fight as decisively as he can. Great back and forth action. Justin Gaethje, he hits hard. He can take a punch. This dude had made Eddie Alvarez's face swollen. I mean, it was like his cheekbone, which is, it was like another face was growing out of his face. It was ridiculous. He was chopping Eddie down with these leg kicks, but Eddie consistently had great head movement, kept working the body, stayed calm, did a little taunting here and there, but even though he took his lumps and his face had another face growing out of it, I felt like this was kind of like a more patient Eddie Alvarez, a patient, older, wiser, veteran, violent Eddie Alvarez, who finished Justin Gaethje for one of the biggest wins of Alvarez's decorated career. I don't know what's next for this guy, but my God, much like the Aldo trash talk from some McGregor fans, I don't want to hear anything from McGregor fans about Alvarez. One of the greatest lightweights of all time, former Bellator champion, former UFC champion. This dude has done it all, and this was a huge win for him. Even though he won the title against RDA, and that was a huge moment for him, I really think this is kind of like the hallmark moment for his career. Maybe not financially, but in terms of just like, cementing his place as one of the best lightweights of the last decade or so, along with the guys like Frankie Edgar and Gilbert Melendez and, of course, Conor McGregor. This was just tremendous. Great fight. Every other fight after this had a hard time following it. It was just excellent stuff. Man. And the opener was Tisha Torres defeating Michelle Waterson via unanimous decision. 30-27, 29-28, 29-28. Decent fight. Nothing spectacular, but a nice win for Tisha Torres in the strawweight division. I didn't get a chance to catch the prelims, but our buddy Alan Wu did. And there were a whole lot of finishes here, so I'm probably going to go back and watch these on Fight Pass and Fox Sports 1. I'll just run through the results real quickly. I did get a chance to see the end of Felder and Oliveira. Paul Felder defeated Charles Oliveira via TKO. Vicious elbows on the ground in round number 2. We had Yancy Medeiros defeat Alex Oliveira via TKO punches in round number 3. From what I saw in the highlights, this looked like a great back-and-forth fight. We had David Timur defeat Drakkar Klose via decision, 30-27, 30-27, 29-28. Veteran Felice Herrig defeated Courtney Casey via split decision, 28-29, 29-28, 29-28. Perhaps Felice Herrig will now get a top 10 opponent in the strawweight division. We had Amanda Cooper TKO Angela Magana, whatever her name is, via round number 2. Although I'm sure if she heard this, she'd probably tweet some weird stuff. And yeah, she was talking about bringing a service dog to the ring, and just she's a weird dude, very marketable dude, but kind of a weird dude. And obviously, things didn't go well for her tonight. We had Abdul Razak Al Hassan defeat Sabah Homasi via TKO in round number 1. Finished him off with punches. We had Dominic Reyes defeat Jeremy Kimball, no relation to John Kimball, I think, via rear naked choke in round number 1. And then we had Justin Willis defeat Alan Crowder via knockout. Knocked out cold with a huge punch in round number 1. So overall, an action-packed event. There are only, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 submissions this whole card. And only a couple on the main card. But my goodness gracious, Francis Ngannou definitely ate Overeem's lunch. I mean, this guy, he had his lunch, he had his dinner, his breakfast, he had all his meals for next month. My God. When he knocked Overeem out cold, whew, Overeem just felt like he was in a coffin. I know that sounds morbid, but it is accurate. It was disgusting. He just got knocked the hell out. It's definitely a changing of the guard right now in the heavyweight division. Like I said, Holloway TKO'd Aldo in round number 3. This was a damn good fight. Cejudo Pettis you could skip if you ordered the replay. Well, I guess you'll have to watch it, but kind of a bathroom break fight, honestly, from an entertainment value standpoint. Would like to have seen Pettis win. At least he would have been a fresh challenger for Demetrius Johnson. Cejudo, we've already seen that. Eddie Alvarez, Justin Gaethje, like I said, I think it's the fight of the year. Great fight. Just two madmen. Eddie Alvarez definitely takes the crown of most violent man in the UFC right now. Tisha Torres, Michelle Watterson, decent fight. But overall, I think from an action standpoint, you definitely got your money's worth. From a star power standpoint, I mean, that's all up to the UFC fan. Who's really a star these days, right? I mean, crowd really liked Eddie Alvarez. They really liked Max Holloway. They seem to like Alistair Overeem. So, I think UFC right now has an uphill battle. There's some guys that are very popular with the hardcore fans, but the problem is that number of hardcore fans is kind of dwindling right now. So, we'll see. But I think if UFC gets that big TV money from FS1 or ESPN, and I'm sure they're going to get a substantial raise, they'll be fine, for the time being. And I guess we really can't say much. They'll have plenty of time to create some new stars. But as we've seen over this last year, with GSP coming back and with Conor McGregor being really the only guys that have moved the needle this year, that is easier said than done. But folks, I want to hear from you. What did you think about UFC 218? What do you think about the news that GSP is out indefinitely with colitis, which is not a good deal. Best wishes to him. What do you think about Miguel Cotto losing in his final fight? Shout out to him on an incredible boxing career. Let me know. Leave a comment below. Tweet us, Facebook us. Do what you got to do. If you enjoyed this update, please like, share, take care. Don't forget to subscribe and enable notifications. Visit youtube.com/TSC Gaming, our gaming channel, to check out our thoughts on the EA Sports UFC 3 beta. And until next time, everybody, as always, enjoy the fights.